I think the historic moments with a number of teams, for example, Jamaica, South Africa, they both made it through to the knockout stages for the first time, and there were some really lovely celebrations with all their players. But I think the team that has stolen everyone's heart so far is Morocco. They went into the tournament, it was their first tournament, they're ranked 72nd in the world, so really low down, and they started by losing 6-0 to Germany. So many teams would have just let their heads drop, probably limped out the competition, but no, Morocco got a huge win against Colombia. And actually, that win meant that it was Germany that went home, while Morocco went through to the last 16. And again, it's just been lovely seeing their fans celebrating in Australia and New Zealand, but also back in Morocco. And I think one thing that's really stood out with this tournament is the fact that the gulf between the best teams and the emerging teams is getting a lot smaller. We've seen actually a lot less goals than usual, but that doesn't necessarily make it less exciting. It just shows that that gulf is getting smaller. And we've already lost 3 of the world's top 10 sides. The Olympic champions, Canada, they're gone. Brazil, which is such a kind of footballing side, they're out. And then yesterday, we lost Germany. And that is one of the biggest shocks of all time. And at the final whistle, the German players just didn't know what to do. They were utterly, they just were shell-shocked. And the German media has not held back on that.
How kind of them.
Also, I think viewing figures have been fantastic, and as a real sign, I mean, going into this tournament, Australia and New Zealand, the co-hosts said that they wanted to make it a watershed moment of the women's game. Well, in Australia, their game against Canada became their most watched programme of 2023. And the fact that the Ashes, you know, cricket's so popular in Australia, was on at the same time just shows how much this tournament is doing good.
There were high hopes for China's women, weren't there? But they didn't make it out of their group. I mean, what happened?
No, there was high hopes after they got that win against Haiti, where they had 10 players and they held on. Then they played England, and unfortunately, England did very well. They beat China 6-1, and China went home. That defeat really hurt the Chinese fans, but it really, really hurt the players. The manager came out afterwards, and she just said, it just shows how far we kind of are behind at the moment and how much we have to do. There is a long-term strategy in place in China to get the women's game up to the level that we're seeing in England, in America. And I think the fact that only one Chinese player of the team that went to the World Cup played in those top 2 leagues kind of shows that their domestic league needs to be brought up to that level. So the papers afterwards, once the dust had settled, they were talking about a rebuild, and actually the fans' sentiment kind of is that, yes, it hurt, but actually we're proud. And there's a really nice quote from a Chinese Q&A platform that spoke about the game called Zihu. And they just said, the spirit of the Steel Roses, which is the nickname of the China team, will last forever. And although they're lagging behind, the fact that they've gone to the World Cup, the fact that they've gone to the Olympics makes the majority of fans very proud. And the good news is there's not much time before the rebuild can begin, because the Chinese city of Hangzhou is hosting the 2023 Asian Games. The China women have got 2 matches in that, and then it's on to the Olympic qualifiers. So hopefully qualify for 2024 and maybe even get a medal at the Asian Games.